Hello, welcome to Tiny Nest. I'm Kiva.
And I'm Jake. This is another episode in our building series,
where we show how we built our front steps.
So we've been using a crappy little plastic step in front of the front door to get in the house, like the whole time up to this point, so like a year and a half now. So it's finally time to get something at least semi-permanent there. We'd like to have a deck sort of porch thing, but that's still a ways in the future. So we're gonna build some steps, and we're at a point where we're trying to save money and buy as little as possible. So I went to our trusty design tool, SketchUp, to figure out how we wanted to make the steps. So I knew the height that I wanted, and we figured that because we usually come at the house from a certain way, that we could have like these little angled steps. So anyway, I played with it and actually had to change things and try a couple different approaches to it, and then settled on something that was simple and that I could just use basic like existing lumber sizes easily to put it together. So I then basically disassembled the thing in SketchUp and laid it out to figure out how many pieces of what types of lumber I would need, and then just bought exactly what I would need. So got that here, got all my essentials laid out here, including a beer. So I'm gonna get a start on it and see how it goes.
got all my pieces cut, including a couple fancy angled cuts that will meet up with the angled steps. So now I'm going to do sort of a test assembly and make sure that it's going to be good, basically. And then I can take it apart, sand it, stain it, get it all ready, and then we do a final assembly once everything's done, because like a lot of pieces are going to be screwed to each other. So if we stained it while it was like that, there'd be bare wood, contacting bare wood, and if water seeped in there, it could damage it. So that's why we're going to do it in this order. Alright, so it's looking good. Put a shim under it because it was kind of rocking a little bit. I think I still need one for the front, so we just need to just get it sitting solidly. And then I was like, oh, the door doesn't open. So, overbuilt the height a little bit. So, what I'm gonna have to do is basically, it shouldn't actually be that bad, because what I'll do is just unscrew this bottom sort of frame thing, and then just slice about an inch off of everywhere, and then put this thing back on, and that should drop it down, because obviously the height between each step is equal, and that's like the most important thing for stairs. So I'm going to leave that alone and trim off the bottom, because if the bottom step is a different height or whatever, it's not the same as messing up the space between the steps. Alright, so I've trimmed off the bottom to lower the whole thing, and then I found that I had kind of messed up one of the cuts. I just marked it and cut it pretty roughly, and this whole thing has been fairly rough. It's not meant to be like super nice finish or anything. So the cut that I messed up, I had to get a shim under there to sort of compensate for that. And then while I was at it, I realized, oh well, I should probably check the whole thing on a flat surface like the garage to see that it is sitting flat. And sure enough, there was one other spot where I could put a shim under to make it more solid. And so now It's pretty good. Obviously we're going to be on grass, just like uneven ground where we are here, but it's good to at least have this starting with a flat base so that say we parked on concrete or something, this should sit fairly nicely. So it's nice and solid, and then it's good to check that it would take quite a bit, I can't even do it just by leaning my weight, for it to fall over backwards. So as you're coming up the steps, you know that you're not going to accidentally kick it over like that way. So that's good, pretty solid. So I'm going to take it over, make sure that my reduction in height is enough, and now we can get it to sit nicely in front of the door, and then I can go on with the finishing step. I've got each individual piece sanded now and a little staining station set up. So I'm going to go ahead and stain it all, probably do 2 coats on the surface that will be facing up. I'll also mention that the pieces for the bottom, there's 2 there, and then these ones, because they're sitting directly on the ground, I got pressure treated wood. So it's actually just 1 2x4 that I sliced in half on the table saw. And so I don't really know too much about pressure treated wood. I could probably should do some more research online. I wore a mask just because I don't really know how bad the chemicals are when I was creating the sawdust, and also when I sanded it. So I have basically cut it in half. There's sort of exposed wood here. I don't really know if the pressure treatment goes all the way through or if it's just on the surface, but I've got I'm going to stain these anyway, even though they're pressure treated, so it's kind of double protected. So this surface will actually sit on the ground. This will be facing up and it will get some stain. And hopefully that will hold up. And even if it doesn't, it's kind of a little sacrificial bottom sort of frame. So if it rots out, it can always just be replaced. All right, we got everything done here. Kiva helped out with the staining. I got multiple coats on all the pieces that I had prepped by sanding. So I sanded it down pretty intensely, especially where I had made any pencil marks that were guides for my cutting. But then after I had sanded that all clean, I added a pretty intense pencil marking on every piece as I disassembled to indicate which piece that was, so that now when I go to reassemble it, it's easy to match each piece, because every piece, like, you know, this is a little bit imperfect. It's kind of rough in its precision. So each piece is not necessarily interchangeable with the others. The screws are going to line up with the holes, the piece that they were mated with. Benjamin, come on, buddy. What are you doing? What are you doing? So here are the stairs now after a full winter season of rain, snow, us walking on it with muddy boots and everything. So it's holding up pretty well, especially considering this is just SPF like framing 2x4s and 2x6s, which aren't exactly known for their natural weather resisting properties. So yeah, the stain product is working out really well. It's the same stuff we used on the siding, obviously, same color and everything. There is a little bit of scuffing on some of the corners, and because it has gone through a whole season of expanding and contracting, there might be some seams or pores that have kind of opened up and breached the seal of the stain product. So we are going to try to find time before the end of this summer season to clean it off, rough it up a bit, and then apply a new coat of the stain just to add additional life to the steps. Kind of like what we did with the siding, where we roughed it up and did a restain after a season or two of it being exposed to the weather.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and turn on email notifications so you never miss a video. You can also find extra resources in the description below.
We spend countless hours making these videos for YouTube, so if you appreciate our work, take 3 minutes to watch the video in the top left tile to learn some ways that you can support us for free.
We'd really appreciate it.